Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Empowered Pause. I am your host, Rachel Chenoa J. Today is Wednesday, March 13th, and we haven't seen you in a while. I haven't been here in a while. Our last broadcast was on Wednesday, January 3rd, and that was actually the broadcast for our 2-year anniversary. So, since we're on the other side of that, I'm happy to be here and welcome. For those of you who do not know, again, I am Rachel Chenoa J, and I am the founder and executive director of engagement for Speak Initiative. Speak Initiative is a nonprofit peer support organization that stands in a gap with people who are experiencing mental health crises and help them get to the resources that they may need, be it the holistic resources, be it the professional resources, be it goal planning and things of that nature. We stand in the gap with our speakers, as we call our clients, while they are getting to the help that they need and making sure that they're acclimated and the programs that we offer and the programs that they may go on to attend. So the Empowered Pause, we are usually here every Wednesday evening to share just a few tips or empowering words or thoughts in reference to mental health and how we can actually work together as a community, work in your community with your family to go forward and have a better mental space. Today's Empowered Pause, we are talking about women and mental health since it's actually Women's History Month, right? This week, I am going to give you a few different statistics around the differences between men and women when it comes to dealing with mental health and how some of the diagnoses or how some of the symptoms show up and what the differences may be. Next week, I am going to go into a few ways to combat some of the things that come up as women. And then on the final week, which is the 27th, I will go into some really great individuals in the mental health field who happen to be doing amazing work. And I would like to highlight those individuals. So we'll talk a little about that. So we have 3 weeks of Women's Month here on Speak Initiative. And this week, we're going to get started on just a little fact checking first, and then we'll talk about the facts that we have. Okay, so I am going to jump into a document that I wanted to share because I found the information really helpful. And it's from the American Psychiatric Association. Excuse me. I haven't been here speaking to anyone in a while, so I'm a little tongue tied right now. And this article is Mental Health Disparities for Women's Mental Health, the Gender Differences in Mental Disorders. So, recent research has identified disparities between men and women in regard to risk, prevalence, presentation, course, and treatment of mental disorders. The rate of mental health conditions are different when it comes to men and women. Each year, 1 in 5 women in the United States has a mental health problem. 1 in 5, that's just a handful. So one person in your five person, friend circle or someone in your family that may be close to you, 1 in 5 women in the United States has a mental health problem, such as depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, known as PTSD, or an eating disorder, right? Although research shows that women and men have similar rates of mental health problems, the type of mental conditions may differ. So, in women, depression is the most common mental health problem, and twice as many women experience depression in their lifetime than men. There's approximately 1 in 9 women 18 and older have at least had one major depressive episode in the past year, right? So when we talk about PTSD, compared with men, women are twice as likely to experience PTSD, and women are more likely to have hypervigilance, feel depressed, and have trouble feeling emotions, while men are more likely to feel angry and have problems with alcohol or drugs. Anxiety is another condition that women are twice as likely as men to experience generalized anxiety disorder or panic disorder. Suicide. Women attempt suicide more often than men. However, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. It is known that um, men who die by suicide usually use there's not a level of lethalness, but they use different ways, and as opposed to women. And then, of course, the last, not the last, but one of the major diagnoses that women are experiencing are eating disorders. And we have approximately 85 to 95% of people with anorexia nervosa or bulimia, and 65% of the people with binge eating disorder are women, right? Let's go further. Schizophrenia. Now, rates of schizophrenia are actually similar among men and women. Schizophrenia generally appears in women in their late 20s or early 30s, and in men from the late teens to their early 20s. So the rate may be similar, it just shows up at different times. Alcohol use. Women are less likely to experience alcohol use and disorder than men, right? Now, some of the risk factors for mental health problems in women. Women are disproportionately experience the following risk factors for common mental disorders than men. Women earn less than men. So women who are full-time workers earn about 1/4 less than male counterparts in a given year. Second, the poverty rate for women aged 18 to 64 is 14.2% compared with 10.5% for men. So for women aged 65 or older, the poverty rate is 10.3%, while the poverty rate for men in the same age group, 65 or older, is just 7%. So that there's a major disparity there. Victims of violence. 1 in 3 women have experienced sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Just 1 in 3. That's a lot of women who are experiencing this type of violence. So, and then it's an estimated 65% of caregivers are actually women. So female caregivers may spend as much more as 50% more time providing care than a male caregiver will, right? Now, there are also differences in the way that different genders seek professional help, seek mental health services. So, according to a study from the World Health Organization, there are differences in the way women and men seek and use mental health services. There are also differences in the treatments that's provided. Women are more likely to be prescribed psychotropic medications than men. That's one difference. Women are more likely to seek help from and disclose mental health problems to their primary healthcare physician, while men are more likely to seek out mental health specialists, right? Women are less likely than men to disclose problems with alcohol use to their healthcare provider. Women are more reluctant to disclose a history of violent victimization unless the physician asked about it directly. And that's something that, because of the stigma and the trauma that people experience when they're victimized that way, sometimes you don't have the energy or the safety space that you need to be able to address something like that, especially with your primary care physician. That you may not have that type of relationship with that person, right? I already said that women are more likely to be prescribed psychotropic medications than men. And then physicians are more likely to diagnose depression in women compared with men, even when both genders have identical symptoms and similar scores on standardized measures of depression, which is interesting because we know obviously that men suffer from depression as well. So the last thing I wanted to just highlight here is the barriers to accessing mental health care services among women. I think I touched on this maybe during a different pause, but we do know that there are disparities when it comes to care, unfortunately, in gender and in race and in poverty levels and things of that nature. But some of the specific barriers for mental health treatment for women happen to be economic barriers, which is the lack of insurance or the cost, which includes premium payments and co-payments, which can become, hefty after a while, especially if you are in treatment consistently and you have co-payments. That becomes an expense. A lack of awareness about mental health issues, treatment options, and available services. Unfortunately, we do not have those conversations about mental health care. We do not have a lot of spaces that we feel safe that we can actually have these conversations, which is why I created Speak along with the teammates that I have to create safe space where men and women will be able to express how they're feeling without stigma, without um, worrying about judgment, and still having someone who can stand in the gap and understand the challenges that may come up as you're getting to and getting the appropriate care, right? So I said lack of awareness. I said the stigma associated with mental illness. I just touched on that. Lack of time or related support. If you have a child, you may have childcare situations where you have to be there. You don't have time for therapy. Maybe you don't have the transportation, right? You don't think you have time and you don't think you have the transportation, but there are ways that we can work through those things as well. Because especially now, um, a lot of things can be done virtually. So, and then the lack of appropriate intervention strategies, including integration of mental health and primary health care services. And I know that's a challenge sometimes as well for people if you do not have, or if maybe you do have a mental health care provider, but they are not working in concert with your primary care physician. And sometimes there may be conflict, or there could be a more cohesive conversation, right? So that was just, I wanted to start off with some of the different ways that women experience mental health challenges. And I wanted to be able to give you first the challenges that there are, the statistics around them, how they actually look, the risk factors, the things that come up for women that may affect them differently, and also talk about some of the barriers that are there, right? Next week, I would like to talk about some of the different ways we as women can start to heal when we start to have those conversations, uh, those sensitive conversations, and have them in safe space. In the coming month or two, we'll make an announcement. Speak Initiative, in conjunction with one of our partners, will actually be having some sessions for women that we can come together, and they're going to be healing sessions. There'll be more information about them within the next few weeks, actually. But we would like to hold healing space for women during the spring season, and then we're going to have more healing sessions, and hopefully some sessions for men as well, because we know our brothers do need help as much as we women do. All of us, we all need to be supported and helped in some kind of way. So that is our Empowered Pause for today. Part two will be Wednesday, the 20th, March 20th, at the same time, 7:15, right? Now, before I go, I'd just like to give you a heads up and let you know that every Monday we post what we call worthy words. And it's just a quote that actually is meant to empower you, to give you information, to may cause you to want to look for more information, or maybe the quote resonates in your spirit somewhere, but just something to hold on to on a Monday. It usually comes out Monday evening instead of Monday morning. Usually Monday evening is a better time for it to come out, so more people will be able to see it. But this week's quote happened to be from Glenn Close, who is an advocate and an actress. And the quote was, "What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation." And I chose that quote this week because that unashamed conversation is extremely important. We do not have to be ashamed of the challenges that we may face. We do not have to be ashamed of the diagnoses we may be given. We do not have to be ashamed to use our voice to heal, right? So that's what Speak Initiative is all about: suicide prevention through empowerment, action, and kindness. If you or someone else you know needs assistance, if you or someone else you know feels like you do not have anywhere else to turn, please reach out to us. The number and the email address is scrolling at the bottom, as well as the website. If you are a community partner, if you have programming or are thinking of programming and you would like to partner with us, by all means, please feel free to reach out. Please comment, share, like this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on all social media platforms. And please join me next week for part 2 of Women and Mental Health. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you then. Take care.